So I put together a GoPowerSports Rascal GT drag bike. So this thing turned out really nice, but the only thing was I wasn't using it as a drag bike, so I went ahead and swapped out the handlebars for some high-rise handlebars, and I added some street tires to kind of turn it into a cruiser. But now I think I can switch it back to a drag bike, because now GoPowerSports has a Rascal GT cruiser kit with the 10-inch wheels. So you have the Rascal GT frame, then you have the cruiser seat. So this seat has a little bit more padding than the seat on the drag bike. Then you have the unit tank, which will give us a lot more range, which bolts directly to the frame, which makes it nice and easy. It has the hardware kit with a couple different shutoff valves. Then we have a couple different throttle cables, a cable for a stock carb, and then the VM22 cable. Then of course you have the Rascal forks, the bushing and bolt to hang the forks, the high-rise handlebars. Then we have the billet foot pegs, the twist grip and handle grip. Then you have the billet risers, which are super nice, and the hardware. You got the kill switch, you got a kickstand, the Rascal sticker, the sprocket adapter. A cool thing about this kit, it comes with 2 sprockets. So you got a 50 sprocket, and then I think this is a 60. Oh wait, a 62. So that gives you a couple different options. So you got low end torque option and then top speed. Then you got the chain tensioner, hydraulic disc brake with the mount. And then my favorite part about this kit is these 10-inch wheels. Man, these things are nice. So you got the front, and then you have the rear with the brake disc. And another cool thing about this kit, it came with these speed rated street tires. So these are 110 by 80 by 10 directional. And I think this kit, I think there's like 3 or 4 different tire options, but these here are the nice low profile street tires. So I think these are gonna look pretty sweet on these wheels. So then you have the spacers, the wheel spacers, and then more hardware. Then you have the front and rear 12mm axles. Then you have the axle hangers. So this is the Rascal GT Cruiser kit. And then of course you can pick whatever power plant you want. So on this one, we're gonna use a Tillotson 212 with the Cars and Cameras Stage 1.5 Performance Kit. So it has the Mod 2 cam, billet rod, a VM22 carb. And what's cool about the GoPowerSports VM22, they come already jetted. So I mean, it's really close out of the box. Then you have the intake. Then you got the air filter. It comes with a spark plug, and then the hardware. Then it comes with a side cover gasket. So now I'll figure out a color for this frame, and then I think I'm gonna try that 50 sprocket out first to see how fast this thing will be with those 10-inch wheels. So I'll start off and I'll see if I can get these wheels mounted. So I pull these bolts out of here and Loctite these bolts just to make sure. Pop in these valve stems. Now I'll see if I can get these tires on here. Mount this up here in this vise. Lube this tire up a little bit and hopefully we can get it on there. Okay. All right, that wasn't that bad. Well, at least the first side anyway wasn't bad. Let's see if I can get the top on here. Oh, there we go. That'll work. So they weren't that bad, actually. The thing was, I had to make sure I squeezed the tire down to get under that bead under there to get into the middle of the wheel on this side over here. So when I pulled this side down, it actually had room to come over. So that wasn't even that bad, getting these wheels mounted. I thought it was gonna be a lot worse than it was. So anyway, while I'm here with the wheels, I might as well throw the sprocket hub on here. Throw a little Loctite on these bolts here. So now I'm going to go ahead and install these bushings in the neck, and normally I'll pound these in or press them in, but I'm wondering if my impact will do it. I mean, I guess there's only one way to find out. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? Okay, let's see what happens. Oh man, that was super easy. Let me do the bottom. Let me throw the bottom one on here. And I used a different nut. I didn't use the lock nut that came with the kit. That way I didn't wear out the lock nut. All right, let's see if this one goes in. Oh man, that's too easy. Okay, comes out pretty easy. And that'll work. That impact made easy work of that. So let me throw on these forks. I think I'll throw one washer under here. I think it'll fit under there. Okay, that's about right. So the kit comes with these plugs to plug up these holes. This is kind of cool. Yeah, while I'm up here, might as well mount the handlebars, tank, and the seat. So I think I'll install this unitank next, and that way I'll mount that on there, and that way I'll know how far to put back the seat. So the unitank comes with a couple different options as far as the fuel shutoff. So you got the plastic one with an inline filter built in. Then you have the metal one with a rubber fitting. So I think I'll just use this one and then use an inline fuel shutoff. All right, that'll work. So I pretty much have it finished up as far as the stuff I could do on the frame, well, except for the tires and wheels, of course. So now I'll go ahead and install this billet rod and Mod 2 cam in the Tilley 212. So I pulled everything off of here that I don't need. So now I can either pull the governor wheel off by pulling this clip out, or just pound out the little shaft and throw in a 1/4x20 button head bolt. All right, there we go. So I could either pound this rod back in here or add a button bolt. Make sure I pull this washer out of here. Alright, so there we go. I just used the same rod that was in there and pounded it back in. up here on top, I don't really need a button bolt to clear anything. So let's use a 1/4x20 bolt, and it'll self-tap into here. You throw a little Loctite on this. So we got the governor hose plug. So while I have this crank out, I might as well knock off this governor gear. Okay, there we go. So now I usually check this crank journal just to be sure. It's supposed to be 1.180. So this one's right in spec. And then I check it in another spot or multiple spots. So now I will install the rod bearings on the cap and the rod, and then bolt it together, and then measure the bearing inside the rod after it's torqued down. And then I'll subtract the two numbers. And according to ARC instructions, you're looking for 2.5 to 3 thousandths, but no less than 2 thousandths and no greater than 4 thousandths. So you can tell right away this one's in spec. What do we got, about 2.5 thousandths? And then I'll check this in multiple spots. Throw this rod in here. Throw on this clip. I'll torque these rod bolts down per ARC instructions to 170 inch-pounds if using oil in 20 inch-pound increments. Install the lifters. Mod 2. I still got the timing marks right, so let me button this up. So let me throw on my sweet flywheel holding tool, or crank holding tool. Torque this flywheel back down on here. So the cam card on the Mod 2 calls for 3 thousandths for the valve lash on the exhaust and the intake. So now I will install the VM22, and the thing on this carb is I have to make sure that I align the carb in the intake so the O-ring seals. Got the carb and the intake mounted together, and if you look on here, the carb kind of sets back because on this frame the motor mount's slanted, so with the engine up the carb will be straight. Then I got the intake and carb in perfect alignment, so there's going to be no air leak. So now I'll bolt it to the engine here. Okay, so we got it all buttoned up, and I like installing the Mod 2. It's always pretty much just a drop-in cam. I mean, there's really never any issues with the Mod 2. So now I'll go ahead and install the wheels and tires on this bike and install the engine, and I think we should be good to go. So for these wheels, this kit comes with 4 different spacers, and they're 4 different sizes, but I have the secret code. So the right rear is a 2.5 and a 2.2. So 2.5, I guess would be the longest one. So we have a 1.8, a 2.2, and a 2.3. So the 2.2 is for the rear, and then you got the 1.8 and the 2.3 for the front. So I'm thinking the 1.8 goes on this side with the brake on the brake mount side. Okay, so that's nice and evenly spaced. So I don't have to add any washers to this one. So that looks pretty nice on there. So before I throw the rear wheel and tire on there, the bike is set up for a steering stabilizer, and the kit doesn't come with one. I don't think it actually needs one because it's just a cruiser. But since I have one lying around, that looks pretty sweet on there. here. So with this moved all the way over to the left, it looks like I'm going to have to add a couple washers over here on this side because we are about, I don't know, a 1/16 of an inch off. So let me add a couple washers in there along with that spacer. Okay, let's check this. Okay, we are spot on now, right in the center. I'll throw a few spacers on this side to bring it out to the where it's flush out here. So I have a little extra axle bolt sticking out there, but nothing my cutoff wheel can't fix. That'll work. Install this brake bracket. So this brake caliper on here, and it looks like I'm gonna have to turn that line the opposite way. So I'll loosen up this line ever so slightly without letting all the fluid out.